In the last 6 hours EU has no choice but to retaliate on tariffs, says CFR's Alden. Malmström on US tariffs. Europe will retaliate in the last 8 hours. Mexico, Canada to retaliate for new tariffs imposed by US EU. Canada and Mexico to retaliate against US Tariffs E.U. Canada and Mexico poised to retaliate against US tariffs. Earlier today, US sends message to China with metal tariffs as allies retaliate. Mexico, EU to retaliate over US tariffs. Angry allies plan to retaliate over US trade tariffs. Yesterday video, US slaps metals tariffs. Canada, Mexico retaliate. Mexico, EU retaliate to Trump's trade war. EU, Canada and Mexico threaten tariffs to retaliate against US allies vow to retaliate over Trump's metal tariffs. Stocks sink as Canada, Mexico retaliate on tariffs. US allies pledge to retaliate against new tariffs. Audio. Stocks skid as US imposes tariffs and allies retaliate. Trump pulls the tariff trigger. Other countries retaliate. Canada, to retaliate against US steel and aluminum tariffs. Canada, to retaliate against US steel and aluminum tariffs. Canada, EU retaliate against US tariffs as trade war looms. EU too weak to retaliate against US trade tariffs. Mexico and the EU announce plans to retaliate against Trump's tariffs. US impose new trade tariffs. EU, Mexico to retaliate. The latest. Europe ready to retaliate after new US tariffs. US imposes new trade tariffs. EU, Mexico steel tariffs. Japan informs WTO it's ready to retaliate against US steel tariffs. EU tells WTO ready to retaliate against Trump tariffs. Japan tells a WTO it's ready to retaliate against US steel tariffs. Japan tells WTO ready to retaliate against steel tariffs. Japan asserts right with WTO to retaliate against US tariffs. Turkey to retaliate over US tariffs on steel, aluminum. Japan ready to retaliate against US import tariffs. Japan ready to retaliate against US import tariffs. Reports Japan to tell WTO it is ready to retaliate versus US tariffs. NHK